Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. In today's video, I'm experimenting with some rub-on transfers. I don't use a ton of them, but I have them from a variety of places, including the Dollar Tree, and I'm gonna show you a few different ways that you can incorporate rub-on transfers into your budget-friendly DIYs. Let's get started. First up, I have this terracotta dish. It's like the bottom part that you'd put under, it's like a saucer for underneath a plant pot, if that makes sense. But I had bought a pack of several of them from Hobby Lobby. They were marked down. I got like 5 or 6 of them and I use them to make some candlesticks. Anyways, I have a couple left over. So we're gonna give this a couple coats of Waverly chalk paint in white. The terracotta is super porous. It absorbs that paint really good. So there's not a lot of time to move it around, but it gets really good coverage. I think I did do 2 coats, but like I said, it dries really fast. And I did the top and the bottom because, you know, you want it to look complete and finished. But it does not take a lot of paint to do this. All right, moving on. I have these IOD transfers that a friend gave me some of her stash. And so I found this round one and I was like, this is perfect for the inside of it. The rub-on transfers, you just peel off the backing, place it down, use something to rub it on. And you can see I'm just gonna take that up slowly as I go to make sure that the whole thing transfers. And then you just rub it with that top sheet to make sure it's in there good. I'm gonna give this a really, really good coat of Mod Podge. I wanted to seal this in. I didn't want the paint chipping off. I didn't want the rub-on transfer going to chip off. And that's because I'm going to use this as a little trinket holder, like a jewelry dish. And so this is going to be maybe on your dresser, but maybe by the kitchen sink or the bathroom sink. So I wanted to just protect it really good, but I thought it was a perfect little dish. I wanted you to see it completed, but then to hold your earrings or your rings while you're showering or washing dishes or whatever. But let me know what you think. So I have several of these little mini frames in my stash. I picked them up in a pack, maybe on clearance at Hobby Lobby. Dollar Tree has lots of little frames. Thrift stores have lots of little frames. Anyways, we're gonna give this a makeover. So this is like a shiny, glossy material. It's not like, I don't think that's like real metal, but I'm going to scuff that up with my sanding block just so that we have a better chance of the paint sticking to it. So I've got some white paint by Waverly and I gave that frame a couple of good coats. Now these rub-on transfers here are from Dollar Tree and you can either just lay the whole sheet on. I wanted to cut out the pieces that I really wanted, but we were going to cover this whole thing in transfers. So I'm making, you know, like not every piece is going to be seen completely, but you know, if you buy a printed frame or something, like the whole image, some of the images are cut off and that's okay. It's like purposeful. So I'm just gonna lay them where I want them. I'm using a popsicle stick. You can also use like a scraper tool. Some transfers you can even just use your finger. These transfers from Dollar Tree are really good. They don't shift around on you very easily and they transfer very, very well. So I am letting some of them transfer over to the edge of the frame, kind of like folding over the edges. And then once again, you're gonna take the top sheet and just, it's called burnishing, to just take that and rub over the transfer to just make sure that it is attached really good because it's kind of like a sticker, but better. So we're gonna do this all over. I just cut out bits and pieces. So when you buy the rub-on transfers, depending on what you're making with them, you can make a lot of different DIYs with one transfer sheet. So whether you're buying them from the Dollar Tree or a little bit more pricey ones from IOD or Amazon has lots of different ones, sometimes the more pricey ones can feel a little bit overwhelming, but depending on what you are making with them, you may be able to get several different projects out of them or maybe a really large, substantial like decor piece. So either way, I just wanted to kind of mention that because yes, Dollar Tree ones obviously are super good price, but as you can see, you could make lots of DIYs with just this one sheet because I'm just cutting out each individual piece and not using all of them. So, all right, so I'm just going to put these all over, just creating a pattern and design that I like. If you are enjoying this video, please give it a thumbs up. I'd love to share budget-friendly DIYs here. And if you are into that, give this video a thumbs up. That helps support my channel, helps YouTube show my videos to others. And I would love it if you would subscribe to my channel so that you don't miss out on my future videos. So I'm going to seal these rub-on transfers in with some DIY clear wax, and I'm just wiping that on with a scrap of a t-shirt, and then I'm going to buff it in with a clean part of the t-shirt really, really good. And this just helps seal in the paint, it seals in the transfer. You can also use something like Mod Podge. There's lots of different ways to seal it in. And some projects I don't seal in. Depends on what I'm doing with it and if I think it's going to get super worn out or whatever. So do with that what you will. So now I'm going to mix up some paint. This is Ocean by Waverly, some gray and white acrylic paint that I just have in my stash. Because I was mixing paints, I started out with way too much. I made way more paint than I needed. But I wanted to mix a color that complemented the rub-on transfers we use in the frame because we're going to make something to go inside the frame. So these stamps here are from the Dollar Tree, and there's this little block I also got from the Dollar Tree to help you apply it. I'm not sure what this stamp says. It's really small and it may or may not be in English, but I know it has something to do with flowers. So I am using paint because I don't have a lot of different ink pads. So I'm just using scrap piece of paper here. I recently went through all of my scrapbook paper and I had so many little pieces and I'm like, well, I don't really want to waste it, but I'm not going to make anything with them. So I'm just using them for various things while crafting just as scrap pieces. So these stamps here, I am using this ink from the Dollar Tree, and then I'm going to do the other one in paint and stamp that in the center, and then we're just going to put that back together. You can also, of course, put a picture, an actual picture. See, that's the other side of the paper. You can put an actual picture in this, but I just wanted to do something else. But I love how this came out. I think this frame, you would never know that this was like probably under $1 to make. I think it's adorable. So lots of different things you can do with rub-on transfers. So this next one is actually just a previous project that I had made. I used it to hold like flowers for a little arrangement. These are arrow signs from the Dollar Tree, tumbling tower blocks. You can see how I assembled that. But I really just wanted to experiment with the transfers because, like I said, a friend had given me these IOD rub-on transfers just a little bit from her stash, and I hadn't used them before. So this was actually one of the first DIYs I did. It's just not in order in the video. And so I pulled this out. I was like, well, this is a pretty plain piece. Let's just see how they go. So there's not a whole lot of DIY in this particular project, but I just kind of wanted to show you that you could put transfers on so many different things just to spice them up a little bit, just kind of add a little bit of fun detail or a lot of bit of fun detail. So first on one side, I put these flower stems, and I thought this was really sweet. And then there were these ones that she sent me, and I just wanted to try that on the other side. And I think it's a really fun, these have so many details and just a really easy way to kind of spruce them up. This is how I use this piece. It's just with some florals in it, but I thought this was a nice little thing to add to it. So just another idea for the transfers. So for this DIY, I've got this sign from Dollar Tree. I think I picked it up at the end of the season. Some Dollar Trees, I think they all do it. It depends on what they have left. But you can get them marked down at the end of the season. So I have had this one in my stash for a while. I'm just sanding off the glitter. We're gonna cover this up, but I just knew that the glue would adhere better without all of that glitter. So we're just gonna give that a quick sand, but then we're going to flip this over and use the back because it's just easier. So we're gonna give this a coat of Waverly chalk paint, and I think that is Snow White. I'm getting to the very bottom of my container here, but I'm gonna do a pretty good coat. I am leaving some of that brown peeking through on the edges to keep this a little bit more rustic and less polished, but that is up for your personal taste. I do make sure the brush strokes go all the way across, and then we're gonna go in with another transfer. This is a large one, and it fit really well in here, so we're just going to, make sure your paint is not just dry, but more cured, not just dry to the touch. I like to wait a little bit longer to make sure that the transfer sheet doesn't pull up any of the paint, but this transferred very well. I just wanted to put that out there so, you could keep that in mind when experimenting with rub-on transfers. And this is a really pretty one with this floral pattern. And then for the back side, this is how I've been covering up my signs lately. You can certainly paint them, you could sand them down. I give it a good coat of Mod Podge, and then once that is dry, I take some craft paper, or you could take some scrap paper, whatever you want to do, and you lay that across with some parchment paper and iron it on. I'm using a mini heat press that I have from HTV Ront, but you can also use a heat press maybe you have from your Cricut, or even a household iron with no steam will work just fine. That's what I used until I got this mini iron. Once that is attached, because the heat will reactivate the Mod Podge, I'm using a sanding block to sand away all of the edges. And you just sand down away from the sign so you aren't lifting it back up, and it gives you a really nice clean line. I did have to do a few cuts in there just because of the shape of this sign, but I love using this method, and it really makes the backside look totally finished and complete if you don't want people to know that you used a Dollar Tree sign, or maybe you're selling this, or you're giving it as a gift, or you just like it to be completed. So that's how we're gonna take care of that. Now we're still using this to be a sign, so I'm just using a little wooden skewer, poking back those holes so that we can thread some, twine through it. I did go back over with the iron just to make sure that when I poked that through that it didn't pull up the paper. Now I'm gonna make a very simple bow. I'm just crisscrossing that, folding that over, and using some twine to tie that down. You can do as an elaborate bow as you want. A shabby chic, like rustic bow would look really cute too. This was cracking me up twice. Just watch. I did this wrong. I did the dovetail and I cut it in the wrong direction. And I was literally like, said out loud, I'm like, I did it again? Like, how did I do that? I'm like, anyways, fold it in half and cut towards the center of the ribbon. Anyways, so we're once again using some scrap paper to mix up some paint. I wanted to make a color that was complementary to the flowers on the sign. I probably could have gotten a little bit more orange, but I'm pleased with how it came out. So don't be afraid to mix your paints. I have this little wooden piece. I don't remember if this is from the Dollar Tree or Hobby Lobby, because they both carry these types of things. But I'm going to hot glue my bow onto the top, and then hot glue my little flower to the center of the bow. And this is just a sweet, delicate little sign. Or not delicate, dainty with the florals. Lots of different styles you're seeing in this video, but all with rub-on transfers. And that's the beauty of the transfers, is you can get them in so many different styles and themes. But I threaded on a few beads and onto some twine and put that back onto the sign so that it would be a hanger. So that is it for this DIY. Let me know what you think down below. All right, so for this last DIY, these were originally signs from the Dollar Tree. If you are a Dollar Tree crafter, you recognize these types of signs. I have them for different holidays. They were glued together. I use them for something else. So I no longer was using it for what I made it for. So I sanded it down, and I'm using some acrylic paint from Dollar Tree. I've recently bought some of that for like a little painting project I was doing with a bunch of people. And it is good, but it did take a couple of coats. Now it might have to do with what was underneath it. It also maybe is better for like mixing with other paints. It's definitely thinner, but acrylic paint is. But I'm using what I have, and I'm almost out of my Waverly chalk paint. So I will eventually buy more, but I'm really trying to use up what I have because I'm running out of room. So, okay, we gave that a couple of coats, and I actually left it a little bit rustic because I do like that. Rustic farmhouse is more my style, but I did want to experiment with some different styles in this video. Kristen Kay uses rub-on transfers all the time. If you don't know her, check her channel out. And she gets some really fun farmhouse ones from Amazon. So there is a rub-on transfer for your style. Use these DIYs for inspiration and get the rub-on transfers that go with your style. So these are some letter rub-on transfers from the Dollar Tree. And one thing that I struggle with when it comes to letters, whether it's a sticker or rub-on transfer, is you end up running out of the letters you need. So I was getting creative here. I had to keep cutting this footage because my head kept getting in the way, because I needed to see the project. But I made an S. I didn't have another S, and I needed an S. So I cut out some letters. I did touch up a little bit with a permanent marker here, but I cut out letters that I didn't think I was going to probably use or wasn't likely to use. And I did compare them to the pre-existing letters to make sure that it looked similar, because I didn't want it to look pieced together. But I made an S, I made an E, I made an A here. As you can see, it's like a little bit too short, so I go and add on some little pieces on the bottom. And this took a little bit of time. But I had fun kind of challenging myself, like, you're going to use these, because you end up with these sheets and you're like, okay, I don't actually have all of the letters I need to do the phrase I need. And then I just skip past them. And I was like, no, let's use them. So I was pretty pleased with that. These floral pieces are some other rub-on transfers from IOD. I also didn't totally center homemade underneath happiness is. I counted the letters, but each letter takes up a different amount of space. So I didn't really do a good job with that, but I feel like that added floral piece kind of disguised it. And then I just kept cutting these flowers up. So even if you see a big image, you can cut them up to work however you want them to work. So that's what I was doing here until I just filled out this sign in a way that I liked. But like I said, I like more rustic farmhouse style. So I'm going in with a chippy brush and a little bit of antique wax, and we're going to go over this whole sign. I do kind of emphasize the edges, but I did want to make sure to go across the whole thing. It helps everything blend together, and it's also just more my style. Even with the flowers, I like this because it was like using florals, which is a little bit more of a dainty, lighter feel, but I feel like you can mix that in with the more rustic farmhouse look. And yeah, I like it, especially because they're like kind of like wildflowers. I don't know. I liked this. Let me know what you think down below. But this was fun for me to use some rub-on transfers, which is something I don't use a lot of in my DIYs, but it's fun to try new things. All right, well, that is going to do it for today's video. If you enjoyed it, don't forget to give it a thumbs up. That helps me out so much. If you're new here and you enjoy easy, budget-friendly DIYs, make sure you hit that subscribe button. If you're not sure how YouTube works, it's free. It's just how you make sure that you get notified the next time I post a video, rather than leaving it up to YouTube to decide whether or not they want to show it to you. Thank you guys so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye, guys.